Hello all, it's Jaden again, and today we'll be talking about my commander deck. So my commander is Sharum the Hedgeman. She is 3 wub, or white, blue, black, for a 5/5 of flying. And when she enters the battlefield, I can return target artifact from the graveyard to the battlefield. There's certain ones that I want to do this to. We'll get to more of those in a second. But I love the colors, and she does what I wanted this deck to sort of do. I wanted to have all sorts of artifacts in here. So now I'm going to go on to the cards that I built this deck around. We'll start with the Planeswalkers, then we'll go on to some artifacts, and then some more legendary creatures. So we'll start with one of the Planeswalkers. This is Soren Markov, the M12 version. It's exactly the same as the one that was printed in Zendikar, but he does another thing I wanted this deck to do. I want to be able to gain life, and I want to control. I want to have a heavy emphasis on control. So being able to control my player for a turn, being able to take their life total from 40 down to 10, and then dealing 2 damage to one of their creatures, and me being able to gain 2 life from that is awesome. The mana cost is pretty interesting, but in this deck there are many ways for me to be able to get around mana costs. Then we'll have his twin brother from the Innistrad block, Sorin Lord of Innistrad. It gets me some tokens. I've got a lot of buff in this deck, so being able to buff creatures is excellent. And those 1/1 vampires with lifelink are very interesting once they get rather large. Then his emblem is great. Then his ultimate, being able to get 3 basic 3 permanents that they control, is awesome. Oh, it's just creatures and planeswalkers, but I think that's fine. I generally play against some really well constructed commander decks. This is actually one of the first commander decks that I've built, and I built this not just to be a commander deck, I also built it to be a Highlander deck if needed. So I keep some extra blue sleeves to be able to sleeve up Sharum into the deck. Now we've got Jace, Architect of Thought. This is more for me being able to see what I'm going to get, or if there's something that I've ascribed to, then it's awesome to get it, hopefully. Then being able to search my opponent's library for something, and then having me able to play it, and then having them shuffle their library is awesome, because I play against a lot of really high-powered commander decks, and this is an excellent addition to this deck. Being able to find, say, Elspeth or some other really high-powered card from their deck, being able to just remove it, and having me able to play it is great. Another thing I wanted this deck to do, there are a lot of things I wanted this deck to do. This deck does them all perfectly. I don't know how that happened, but this deck flows so well. Jace, Memory Adept. I also wanted this deck to mill, or have a splash of mill. So having this one being able to mill as its ability that does nothing to him is great. Then any number of target players each draw 20 cards. I do that at the end of my turn, and then on their turn, when it's then at the end of my turn they have to discard down to 7, so that's awesome. Then we got Tamio the Moon Sage. Here's the control element of it. I'm able to tap one of theirs, and then I'm able to draw a card for each tapped creature. And then I have no maximum hand size. If I have Tamio and Jace out, then I'm able to target myself, and I'm able to have a 20 basically that turn a 27 card hand. I'm able to do all sorts of things. So that's great. Then we got a little bit of an interesting take on Mill with a Shiik Nightmare Weaver. I'm able to exile the top three, and then with her ultimate, I'm able to take everything from the graveyard away. But her middle is where I like it. I'm able to take a creature with converted mana cost X. Onto the battlefield under my control that I exiled with her, and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. Being a nightmare doesn't really do anything for me, but what this does do is it does get some mill and then control. I'm able to get some of theirs that might be pretty great, especially if they're running green. Then her middle ability is really great for me. This is more of mill and control, kind of. It's sort of body and mind. Being able to buff my creature, great. Being able to give protection from green and blue, great. Because generally I'm playing against blue or green decks. Now, seeing as my deck only splashes blue, to be able to have my commander, seeing as my commander is Esper colors, being able to get protection from a color that I don't have much of in my deck is also great. But then being able to mill them for 10, if it hits, is great. And being able to cut a wolf out of them is pretty fun. Because then, hey, there's another thing for me to be able to buff up in the future. Then we got Tide Hollow Scholar. This is more of a control aspect, too. When he comes into play, I get to take something from their hand. It can't be a land, but that's fine. He's really great. He's also something that is very, very excellent to buff. And then just give him protection from a color whenever I need to with some cards I'll see in the future. He ends up being pretty great in here. We're wrapping up, almost. We've got 3 more cards in the cards that I built this deck around. We got Heliod of the Sun, Heliod, God of the Sun. Being able to let my creatures have vigilance is great, because then I have more creatures to block those really big green creatures that I play against quite a bit. So everything else he does is great. So his last ability gives me another way to get some creatures to buff, because I don't really have any actual creatures in this deck. Well, I have a few, but not that many. And then we got Obzadot the Ghost Council. He does the life drain and gain for me. And then his second ability is great, because then I can just buff him for a few. He ends up being really great. And then I'm able to get some very excellent abilities with Sidri Galvanic Genius. You could probably tell what deck I've bought by now for Commander. I just stripped it for parts. But she turns something into an artifact, and then I get to give that now artifact Death Touch and Lifelink, which can be really great. And those abilities are instant speed, so if I need to have them immediately, then they work. I guess we'll go on to the basic lands to get them out of the way first. 8. We got 8 swamps, 7 plains, and 6 islands. non-basic lands. Every commander deck should run a command tower so that you can get any of the colors that you need that are in your commander's colors, which is really great. Some dual lands that are really great are the fetch lands like Flooded Strand. Being able to have access to them now in cons is great because normally hardly anybody would be able to get these because they got so expensive. The shock lands, such as Godless Shrine, are great here. Those really interesting lands that were originally from the Alara block that are like Arcane Sanctum. It's great. Gives me any of my colors that I need. The bounce lands from the original Ravnica block are great. So we've got Orzhov Basilica. When it enters, I return a land to my hand, and I'm able to... It enters tapped, but on the next turn I'm able to add a white and a black. So that's great. And then the Azorius Chancery. Again, it's pretty great. So just the same thing as the last one, but white and blue instead. If you can find some of the Innistrad lands, they're great, like Isolated Chapel. I think these were printed in the Innistrad set and M12. You've got half of them in M12 and half of them in Innistrad. The guild gates, so I run one, of course, this is a singleton format, so one each of Dimir, Azorius, and Orzhov guild gates. The life lands from the Khans of Tarkir, or Dragons of Tarkir set, Dismal Backwater, Scoured Barrens, and Tranquil Cove. Some sweet fixing, Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse. They're the exact same card, but different name, so that's great for Commander. We'll run one of the refuges from the Zendikar block, Jwar Isle Refuge. We'll run an Opal Palace, gives me a colorless, and then Commander colors, have to pay one for it. But being able to get a colorless is great. Then a Lonely Sandbar, I did say it right, but being able to discard it to draw a card, I love, just in case I've got way too many land in my hand. This is nice, and it just adds a blue if I need it. Now we'll go on to the artifacts. There is an extensive plethora of artifacts here. We'll start off with some commander staples like Sol Ring. Very, very excellent. Being able to add 2 colorless is great, and having no drawback at all is awesome. Pristine Talisman. It also has no drawback, but I'm also able to gain a life. As you can tell, this deck loves to gain life, so it works. And then, I think this is the last Commander staple artifact that I have in here, Whisper Silk Cloak. Being able to give the equipped creature Shroud and Unblockable is great. However, seeing as I started playing in M12, and this was printed clear back in M10 when I was, let's see, this would have been printed 2009 when I was only 8. I didn't even know about Magic at that time. But trading for this is great if you can, if you ever find someone that has one. So just need to get Whisper Silk Cloak. I wish they would have reprinted it, though, but I think it's a little bit too powerful to reprint. Then we've just got some that I decided to throw in here just because. So we've got Obelisk of Esper, sweet fixing. Gets me any of my colors. 3 mana up front. and I'll be casting that I'll be using this 3 or 4 times. Some more fixing, Solemn Simulacrum. This is something that I love to reanimate with Shroom the Hedgeman. Being able to get it back from my graveyard, being able to put it back to the battlefield. When it enters, I get to search for basic land, put it on tap and shuffle, and then when it dies, I can draw a card. It's great. Then we've got Tide Hollow Strix, another creature for me to buff. It's great. Early game. Then really late game, Sphinx with the Steel Wind, being able to do almost everything, I would say. Gives me protection from the colors that I'm most afraid of. And then Lifelink, great. Flying, great. Vigilance, great. First Strike, wonderful. It's basically just a miniature Acroma for way more, and in the wrong colors too. A Tower Gargoyle, 4 for flying, for 4. It's hard to cast, but when you do cast it, or when I have cast it, it's been pretty great. If I need to take Total Armageddon on somebody, Nivinral's Disc is very excellent. So it enters tapped, and I can destroy all creatures, artifacts, and enchantments. It's excellent. Generally, I don't need to do that when I have anything. If I do have anything, it's something I am able to get rid of, like one of Soren's, what's it called? One of Soren's, guys. It doesn't target planeswalkers. So I get to keep my planeswalkers if I have any of those out. Haunted Plate Mail, buff, and then if I need to, it can be a creature that I can buff. Yay. Swiftfoot Boots, being able to give something hexproof. That's basically what I use this for. So then I'm able to put stuff on them. Again, with Mill, Sands of Delirium. I've never had to use this before, but when I do use it, it will be very awesome. Contagion Clasp. I do have a lot of -1/-1 counters on things, so this is awesome. We got Filgary Angel. It's late game, but I'm able to gain some life. So, I find that to be great. You know what? I apologize for this, but we will have to come back to you in part 2. So there should be a link somewhere on the screen here to take you to part 2, but make sure you watch part 2. Remember to rate and subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments below. We'll see you later.